Mississippi Acres is one of the most unique reserves in the Honor Call of the Wild. It may not be a community favorite, but it has certainly an interesting animal lineup and a good amount of very nice locations where it's not that hard to find diamonds and rares. So on this occasion, we're gonna go over the best locations, the best times, and every single hotspot map to hunt all the species on Mississippi Acres. Okay, the first of the best locations is a somewhat big area where it's possible to come across some of the small game animals that you can find on this reserve. This area, just as the majority of the hotspots, is really decent to find feed zones and rest zones, and it is usually the location with the highest concentration of raccoons on the entire reserve. So if you wanna find a rare or a diamond raccoon, I really recommend you to visit this northwestern region. It is a nice place to find raccoon, quail, wild hog, cottontail rabbit, and gray fox. All these species usually have their feed zones inside the fields or pretty much inside any open area, so whenever you are trying to find them at their feed time, always look for them on the open areas because you are not gonna find them inside the forest. You know, in the great majority of occasions, they are gonna choose open locations like this one where if you are patient and you take your time to explore them, you are gonna be able to find many zones and consequently many tracks. And again, it's very important to be patient and really make an effort to look for tracks around these areas, because if you actually want to increase your chances to find a diamond or a rare of any of these small game species, this kind of hunting style is gonna be necessary since most of these species don't have a drink zone. And most of the times on this reserve, doesn't matter if you are super careful and never run, the first thing you'll find before you actually get a chance to spot any animal are the tracks. Or maybe a call in some other occasions, especially if you're running, you're gonna hear a lot. And they are extremely helpful to locate things like the quail or the rabbits. Look at that. Level 9 Gray Fox. I actually found this guy back on January, but I decided to save him for whenever I started making this guide. And this is, I believe, the first level 9 with a red fur type that I have ever found. I mean, it ain't a rare nor an uncommon, it is actually common, but it's nice to find a diamond potential that looks different than the ones I have. All my diamond gray foxes have in either gray or two tones, so this one is gonna be a nice addition to the lodge. We're gonna have to track him though, and as soon as I have a chance, I'ma use the 243 Ranger. It is, along the 243 Cuomo, the best weapon you can use against any class 2 species like this gray fox, although within the rifles there's also the option to use any 243 or even the 22 Hornet, but it's undeniable that in terms of power there's nothing compared to the 243 caliber. Alright, we found this guy on this area, which is part of the central region of the map, and it is normally a nice location to find raccoons, quail, and pretty much the exact same species I mentioned earlier. So this location has essentially the same animal composition as that other northwestern region, which means that they are both part of the same home range. The home range number 1. It is basically the habitat of the raccoon, the wild hog, and by far the home range with the largest population of bobwhite quail. You can also find gray fox and cottontail rabbit on this region, but the difference is that these two species are evenly distributed across other home ranges as well, so they are more like secondary species inside this first home range. Okay, we're getting close to this guy, I just saw it, but not sure of where he is now. Maybe he crossed the river. Let's see, there's a peak. And there he is. He is really close, so even on the move it's gonna be relatively easy to get a viral. I'ma go for a double long. That's it. Potentially our first ever red diamond gray fox. Hopefully he makes it, although this guy is trolled quite often, so it wouldn't be surprised if this guy ain't big enough. 6.73 diamond. The first diamond gray fox with a red fur type that I have ever gotten. I love how these look, they look very different to the grays, so I cannot wait to place it on the lodge. It's beautiful. Apart from this location, there are other nice areas to hunt the species present on the home range number 1. Just keep in mind that all these locations are meant to be hunted at either the feed time or the rest time of all these species. Although since all of these areas are next to a river system and some of these small game species actually have a drink time like the raccoon, you can perfectly look for drink zones and find plenty of them by just looking at any body of water close to these areas. If you want to focus exclusively on finding raccoons and wild hogs, then the best thing you can do is to set the time at their drink time and check all the sections of the river and all these bodies of water. Alright, now we're gonna go over the best locations inside of what I'ma call the American Gator home range. And the reason why I don't call this just the second home range is essentially because it overlaps with the first and the actual second home range. So to avoid confusions, I'm just gonna call it the American Gator and the green-winged teal home range. Okay, in order to hunt alligators effectively, you need to look for them while they are resting on the shore. This is the time when, if you're careful and you look around the right locations, you'll be able to find these big boys bedded close to the shore, making possible to hit a neck shot, which is by far the most effective shot to drop these guys. I mean, you get the neck, and they ain't gonna go anywhere, which is exactly what you want. That is definitely a shot you wanna practice to hunt these guys. There are certainly other options, but this one is the one you wanna master. Once you get good at hitting the neck on these gators, you don't need anything else. Now, as for the best locations to hunt both the green-winged teal and the gators inside this home range, coming in first we have this part of the river right here. On this area, if you search along both sides of the river, you'll come across a good amount of gator rest zones. There are plenty of males here, so make sure to look around with the binos at the gator rest time. And also, if you're looking for a good place to set up your green-winged teal decoys, this is an amazing spot. Another nice location to hunt gators and teal is a place that I should have mentioned when I was talking about the home range number 1, because it is also great to hunt wild hogs, quail, raccoon. This little island is usually a very decent location to find these species as well as gators and green-winged teal. Then if you go to the opposite corner of the map, apart from finding even more gators on these 4 amazing lakes, you will be visiting one of the best areas to hunt the species that inhabit the third and last home range, which is the only place where it's possible to find whitetail, black bear, and eastern wild turkey. This is a home range that doesn't really have any locations that really stand out. I mean, these lakes are good, but they are not that great. The population of the species that inhabit it is evenly distributed across the whole area, especially talking about the whitetail and the black bear. So there ain't really any true hotspot that you could say is absolutely superior to the others, but if you tell me to choose one location, another good location, I would certainly pick this southeastern region. It doesn't have any special amount of animals, but it is full of nice open areas where it is really easy to spot them. Definitely a location worth checking.